One. Hey everybody, Scott Jansen here. Welcome back to another 100K coaching program student interview. Today, it's my absolute pleasure, I should say, to have the awesome Sophie with us today. Sophie is a 100K coaching program student. So we're going to get to have a chat to Sophie today to talk about what's going on in her business, the crazy experience she's had with finding her niche, how she's capitalizing on that niche and growing her business so quickly. I mean, she's only been in the program for a couple of months, and what she's been able to do is just spectacular. We're going to talk about what Sophie's doing in her business right now, what she's going to be looking at doing in the future, how she's scaling her business, and all the stuff in between. So Sophie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
So look, let's start from the actual start. Even before you became a therapist, what was going on in your life at the time where you started to think, you know, maybe I do want to become a therapist, I want to start running my own business? What was happening at the time?
Yeah, so for me, I had gone through a horrific breakup. I have a child with my ex, and he and I split up for the second time and for final. But this was an abusive relationship, and I didn't know it at the time when I was in the relationship, but he has narcissistic personality disorder. And I'd been through all sorts of abuse with him. The first time he actually, that when we separated, he had punched me in the face and
wow.
But I did that because I was concerned. I could already see that he wasn't making any payments, and we had an income property together, and no child support or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went back to him, I made sure that I took care of some finances so that I could, take him to court, and if he messes up again. So I took a chance, and I thought he was working on himself. And ultimately, I had actually hired a lawyer and everything, and the lawyer didn't do anything for me. So the second time, just over a year later, when I found out that he cheated on me, that was at the end of it for me. So I went on this separation journey, and my finances were tight because ultimately, I had this income property that we owned together, that all of it the burden was on me, not paying child support. So I went through this tight finances, and what I was trying to avoid was bankruptcy. And after a good year and a half of paying into this income property that we owned together, but he was not paying into it, or even child support or anything like that, I ended up having to walk away from the property. And I actually was making really good money that year. I was an employee. I got severance pay. It was a voluntary departure. And then I went on to being a consultant right after and making really good money. So I made really good money that year. Unfortunately, half of it went to debt, and the other half of it went to securing, my rent and everything for a year, because when you file bankruptcy where I lived, you can pay for things for up to a year. And I had all this chunk of money on me. And ultimately, when I foreclosed on the property, if I left that money, which was meant for the closing cost of the house, the investment property we had together, the bank would have just taken it from me. So with that money, I paid for my rent for a full year. I paid for all my bills for a full year. I'd done all my research, and I sat back and I didn't work. I mean, I applied for jobs, but at that time I wanted to take what was left of the money that I had after prepaying for everything for a year. I invested it in some courses for myself, because I didn't want to go through this again. And I had really good credit score before this, excellent, and everything was great, except that this relationship kind of ruined me. So I thought, I never want to go through this again. So that's where my healing journey started. I wanted to be a coach so that I could heal, and then I could take this to other women, because I could see that other people were going through a lot of relationship struggles. So that's sort of what I did. And basically during that 9 months of bankruptcy, where they monitor your account, and if you're not earning, then they just discharge you right away. So I took a couple of courses. I took a relationship course, and then I took RTT. So I could do hypnotherapy. And I was going to reopen my corporation as soon as a day after I was discharged from bankruptcy. And that's exactly what I did at the start of the year. And so, I didn't want to market myself before then, because if I earned money, then they would prolong my bankruptcy. So I just created content and did all this stuff. And, you know, like most people wouldn't invest in themselves in that way when they don't have money, like when they're going through rough times. But it was a pleasure to do that for me, because when all your money goes to an investment property just to keep it afloat, to, you know, to make sure you're not going under, you're bleeding a lot of cash. And it was a refreshing thing to just spend that money on myself, whatever I could. So during that time when I was just sitting at home, I was actually learning and taking certification in my healing journey. I'm doing the inner child work and all of that stuff. It was great. And then I just thought that, okay, well, now my vibe is shifted. I've healed my inner child. Come the new year, I can just launch my business and the floodgates will open and all the customers will come to me, except that they didn't.
Doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Doesn't work like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what drew you to the relationship course and also RTT? Was there something specific you were trying to learn? What was it?
Yeah. So the relationship course was just, before, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I worked in the corporate sector, but I thought I was going to be doing something different. The relationship stuff, I just stumbled about it. Like I was looking at it for myself because I wanted to know, you know, how to not ever draw another toxic relationship like this. So I was just Googling it, just putting it on YouTube and following certain people. And I made some transitions from one person to another coach, their channels. And then ultimately I got hooked on this masculine and feminine energy. And then it just, something clicked for me. It's like, okay, well, what do I do with this cash before I file? They're going to take it from me. I could either go on a nice holiday, which is well-deserved with my son, or I could actually invest in myself. And I put aside the holiday, which, you know, I still need it, but I haven't stopped. So I just took the course, and it just instantly felt good about the decision, because I had learned so much just by following a couple of people's YouTube channel who were trained by the same instructor. And when I took the course, it felt so refreshing. There were so many aha moments, so many healing instances for me as I'm going through the material. And and it was just something that I wanted to share with the world. What drew me to RTT was I felt like it was really good with hypnotherapy, how you can get right to the root cause. I'm not very patient. I love to see results quickly. So I use that as a benefit. It could be a flaw, but you know, it to me, it's like, I want to see results. So I love that hypnotherapy can do that and can give like quick results for people, and coaching is necessary after the fact. So just to support the transformation. And that's what led me to the hypnotherapy right after taking the relationship coaching. And basically the entire 9 months I was just studying and doing sessions on people in exchange for testimonial, because I didn't want to earn the money and then get, you know, and then prolong bankruptcy. So I just,
So how did you know you were healing yourself? What was the difference? What did you experience?
Yeah, I mean, like the chattering mind just disappear. My experience, just with everything, my interactions. So the healing came from like just how I was able to powerfully dialogue with myself and not respond in the same way that I used to before to things. So I could tell, like in relationships, for example, going on dates or meeting people, it's a completely different experience for me. I actually enjoy the process now, and there's no sense of urgency or anything like that. I don't have this weird chattering in my mind, like, what if this or what if that? I'm just so comfortable and confident in my own skin. Like I love it. It's great. And yeah, so that's from that perspective, and just everything else in general. It's just been empowering. There's obviously things that are, you know, like you hear a lot about law of attraction and healing the inner child and all of that. Those are all great, but you know, they're just part of the work that needs to be done. And this is why I'm so grateful for having come across your training, because it's just another bucket that's necessary. So
that's right. What, so when you were doing your healing work, and I remember you told me that on the strategy call as well, for 9 months, what happened next? How did you, or what what thought came into your mind when you thought, okay, I'm healed. I'm feeling a lot better about myself. Circumstances are better. I'm going to try this as a business. Let's see if I can actually start onboarding clients, help them with this. When did that all start for you?
Yeah. So the onboarding was really just as soon as I can take a paid client without it being used against me.
Right.
So it was a no-brainer for me. Anytime I thought about doing a paid client before then, it gave me so much anxiety because I had already paid so much into this property, like over 40K, that I didn't want to pay any more into it. I didn't want to constantly have the trustee monitor my bank account and like communicating to report it. I wanted to be done with this chapter. And so as soon as I was discharged from bankruptcy, I reopened my corporation the next day so I can operate under a corporation. It's just way better for taxes.
Yes, it is.
And so, yeah, that's basically what I did. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to run some Facebook ads. I didn't know how to do that. I am a project manager as a consultant. That's what I do. I'm in strategic sourcing. I negotiate commercial contract, commercial terms, negotiate, contract terms. Those are my training, professional training in the corporate world. Marketing is not one of them. It's not one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how to market myself. And so when I was ready to get clients, I didn't know how to do it. And I had been on a couple of calls, like strategy calls. I called it something else before, discovery calls, except that I didn't know how to close the sale. I didn't have a script. I didn't have a process. And yeah, there was something missing. And now I know what.
Now we know, definitely. So when was that? When did you reopen the corporation? Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, it was January 7th.
Okay. So January 7th, you've opened the corporation. So 2020. What did you do to start getting clients? Did you further research YouTube? Were you just trying to do random things? I know you said the Facebook ads. What else were you trying just to get clients in?
Just constantly going on Instagram, which I don't really like Instagram. It's like, hasn't worked out for me. Again, I'm not good at marketing myself. Like, I know I can make good content. I know I can make good, I know I can help my clients. I know I'm very intuitive and I know how to transform and give them the transformation process. I don't know how to market myself. So, I'd be going on like Instagram. I wasn't really using my personal page as much or YouTube much, but occasionally I'd make videos. Mostly I was on Instagram, and then it would automatically load to my Facebook page. There's not that many followers. And I notice in the industry, this is something that I didn't expect, but once you're a coach, you start to see your online businesses, like other peers, people or don't know, and they'll copy your content. And because they're really good at the marketing somehow, just better luck or whatever it is they're doing, they can get results from your content. And that used to piss me off so much. So I was at that place where I'm like, maybe I haven't finished healing my inner child. Maybe something is not available to me. I feel like I'm enough. I feel like I'm worthy, this and that. I matter. I'm smart enough, but maybe it's just not available to me. And I was in a very bad place because I was like, well, it doesn't matter what I do. It's just not available to me. I need to keep healing my inner child. Anyway, that's how I felt.
It's weird how you go back to that default, like, especially when it comes to marketing and business, it's another whole ball game by itself. But we do this assumption thing. And I used to do this as well. I think humans are really bad for this. They try something and doesn't work, and they assume it's because of this. And it's quite easy to default back to, well, it's me. It's my unconscious mind. It's my patterns. It's my inner child. It's all of this stuff. And you disregard what's actually in front of you, which is actually, I have no idea how to run a business. I don't know how to market. I don't know how to find a niche, but we ignore that. And it's all inner work. It has to be the universe. It has to be law of attraction. Interesting how we always go to that place first.
Yes. Well, it's a lot of people out there that are telling you that's what it is. And
that's right.
If you don't hear something other than that, then that's all you've got to work with.
That's right. Yeah, so what did it feel like to be doing all of the content, doing the work, seeing people steal your content? What was it like for you?
I was infuriated. I was like so angry. I was so disheartened because this is a business where, you want to help people from a genuine place, and you go because every coach has something that they wanted to heal in them, and then they wanted to give back. And so it's like, well, how could a fellow coach do that? Like, how could they have, like, why would they want to steal my content and then anyway, so it baffled my mind. I felt really like isolated and alone. And so it was like not a good feeling. And another thing I should mention, the relationship coach certification, that is life and relationship, but very much relationship and very much focused on women, helping them balance their masculine and feminine energy so that they can be successful in their relationship. When I went to hypnotherapy, that opened up a whole variety of things I could heal. And I was like, yes, this is amazing. I'm going to do like more than just relationship. And that's when I changed my website around and my social media around, and I couldn't just stay focused. So, I thought that was going to help me get more clients. And, I don't know, some people can, some people have, but I don't know if that model works for them, or how they structure it. But, yeah, I had a really hard time with going back to the original niche.
Yeah. So, and that's the first, I don't know, month or so that we were having chats back and forward, which I'm going to get to very soon. Cause that was the straw that broke the camel's back for you. And that's the only reason why we did focus back on the one thing that, it's working now. So you did the whole thing like everybody does, me included. We learned some new therapeutic type tool. We realized look at this. I can heal more than just one thing. I'm going to market to everything. I'm going to market the specific type of therapy instead of marketing the pain and solution. You go about, I can help anybody with everything for any price type thing. Is that sort of where you went?
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I thought I could heal anybody with anything because it's all the root cause that you have to go to. And it was very similar root cause for anyone. And whatever, I can do this. I could package it like one hypnotherapy session or 2 or 3, or you can do a combo of hypnotherapy and coaching. And that's how I had it all set up. And I wasn't even sure if I should put my prices on my website, which I did at first. And then I took it off and then I put it back on and I reduced it to half. And it was like, and if you give people the option, no one's going to say, oh, I want the biggest, most expensive package. No one says that.
No one happens. No,
it doesn't happen. And, actually it could be that they need that extra support depending on what it is. So, I was a bit lost there and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know why it was working for some people, but why it wasn't working for me. Like I just literally felt like there was a rock or like a glass ceiling over my head or something over my head that was preventing me from going up any further from just having a certification and doing like a session for a testimonial. But like, why can't I get a paid client like some of my peers? Why? I just didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah. So when did you decide like there's something missing? I don't know the business. When did that realization come?
Well, so remember how I said I had prepaid things for a full year?
Yes.
That year was coming up and I didn't want to go back to the corporate sector. But as soon as I was able to earn an income, even a month before, I was always applying for jobs just to apply for jobs and just to see. But the market's not that great, especially like it got worse in the new year with the coronavirus and everything. But it actually, like, I wasn't hearing back from the corporate world in terms of like being either an employee or like a consultant. And I'm marketing my services and for my business, because I'd love for that to take off. Nothing was going anywhere. And all of the things that I prepaid for at the end of March, it was coming due. So now it's like, if I don't have a job, well, where am I going to end up? Where's my son and I going to end up? Like so there was a pressure right around like February. I'm like, okay, I only have a month and a half left and I haven't earned anything yet, like zero. Yes, I've had like before I was able to earn something without any repercussions, I had done like tens of clients, like over 30 clients just in maybe even more than that. Just I'd done so many sessions on family, friends, peers, whatever, just because I wanted to get the jitters out. And I realized in that phase that I was actually really good at what I was doing. And I was getting good reviews and people were wanting to give me testimonials. But for some reason, I couldn't get a paid client. And I'm like, well, nothing's working out. I don't understand. And if I don't do anything, I'm going to end up like, if I don't get a corporate job or if this business doesn't go somewhere, I can't sign my lease again for another year. I'm going to end up on the streets with my son or in a shelter. That's how bad it got. And I was already living on like very much reserve funds because during my bankruptcy, I had already invested in them. Before I invested in the relationship course, I had a little bit of savings and I invested in the hypnotherapy. So now I was working on reserve funds. And part of that towards the end, I invested in you. So people mostly, they don't think to invest when they're going through something catastrophic.
No, they pull
like
back.
Right now,
they
pull back. But for me, it was like, if it makes sense, if it's the right fit, I will invest because I know that it's the right move. It's strategic and it's a good risk. It's not like me being irresponsible or spendthrift,
A holiday would be a worse idea.
Exactly. I would have done a holiday, but I chose to invest in myself and to make that pay dividends once it was done. So I invested in you because I came across you. I don't know if that's one of your questions.
That was my next question, actually. Yeah.
Okay, let's segue into that.
Yes.
So I actually had, I don't know, it must have been December or January, because I was listening to a lot of Marissa Peer. Like she was the one who is our trainer for RTT. And I could hear her teaching us how to induce someone and how to do the transformation. And she had her own voice. And when you can only compare yourself to one person's voice, then you end up comparing yourself to them only. And it's like, I have to sound like them. And I didn't like, I didn't like how I was being so critical of myself. Like I couldn't sound just like her. And I was being very critical. So I started to search other people online, how they do it, so that I had more people to listen to and then find my own voice. Because I'm not comparing myself to one person, I'm comparing all these best practices. So I was looking up ASMR and other people, and I even came across yours, which I put it in like a different folder, and I would listen to your voice, and this isn't what you're doing now. It was something you were doing like, I don't know, 2 businesses ago or whatever.
2 businesses ago. Yes.
So you were teaching people you were certifying people to be hypnotherapists. And I liked the way you were like showing like the cadence in your voice and everything. And I would listen to you like periodically and just practice it. So then I think because I subscribed to you there, then somehow one day I got a notification right when I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm going to be homeless with my son. What's going to happen to me? And my son, like I haven't gotten any clients and I haven't gotten any contracts. And this weird coronavirus thing wasn't as big. Like it was big, but it hadn't hit home yet. It was mid-February. So it hadn't gotten that bad yet, but still I wasn't getting any word from the market. So one evening I remember getting a pop-up, and it was one of your interviews that you had done just like this with someone else who had done RTT. And it was just like this for me. It was like, oh my God, I have to watch it now. This is my, like, this is a sign. This is so relative to me. This is so like directly message to me. And then basically, I went and watched some of your other videos, and I like downloaded some of your free content and watched those videos. And I don't think I slept that night. It was really like, like one of those like nights where you're just like taking in information. And I booked a strategy call like the next day or 2. And I already knew I was going to sign up for you because of all the testimonials you had. Whenever I go on a strategy call, whether it was with the RTT or the relationship course or with you, I already knew I wanted it.
Sure.
I never go on a strategy call 50-50. It was like 90 to 95% I knew. I just wanted to hear your voice to confirm, like, if there's any inconsistencies there, if I get any vibe, I was going to then pull out. But by that point, it was just, I wanted to make sure you knew my story. And this was the most important thing for me talking to you, because at that point I was in my last drop.
Yes.
I told you, I'm like, I'm going to be on the streets and I'm going to take this last bit of investment and I'm going to give it to you. Do you feel comfortable taking my money? Are you confident?
Remember that question.
Yeah.
You remember you said to me, you said like, Scott, here's my circumstance. And you're in a very bad place, a very rough place. And it was either, Scott, what do you like? Do you think I should do this? That was pretty much your question. If you were me, would you do this? Would you invest in this? Or would you wait? I think you said you were going to wait 6 months or so before you actually started. And I said to you, do it. We're here. Get it done. you know, you've got the certifications, you've got no choice really. It's either you do this and invest in yourself, or what other choice do you have? There's no other equation there. What was it like for you on the strategy call? Because you asked a lot of questions, a great strategy call. I got to get to know you, got to get to know me. What were you learning as we're going through the strategy call based on what you thought business was about, or the way that you were thinking you were going to get clients?
Yeah. So for me, I had done all the homework in advance. You just like basically confirming and reiterating all the content that I got from your website, and like, because you have a couple of freebies on there.
Yes.
And so I downloaded all of that and I consumed it all before getting on the call with you. I just wanted to, like, it was affirming what it was there. And I was already on board with what you were saying, because it was different from what I was doing. And it made me think, like, what am I doing now? Like, it made me really rethink all the things that I'm doing. And I knew that it had lesser value than what you're teaching me. Like, and I knew based on your testimonials, because you had very valid testimonials and so many of them, that it was like, I think I should be investing in this. I'm almost 95% sure, but I want to hear from you, if you knew my exact story, if you would be confident in me doing it. If I could sense in you any hesitation, I would have not done it. But I was like, I'm only going to be on this call if I think I should. And if you think I should, then I'll go for it. That was the last 5 or 10% for me. And you were not hesitant. You were confident in your service and like your training. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. Like, who cares if I'm this much less in my savings? Well, I'm already in such a bad place that, like, I already have my back against the wall. I have, this is it. So I have to make that last investment count. And I did. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. I mean, I've always heard the saying, I can't remember who said it, you can't get any broke than broke.
You
So
can't
why
get
not
any
invest? Yeah, it can't go backwards. It can only go forward. So you signed up to the program, you dived in, and we've been in contact a lot, which is what I love about working with the students. They can stay in contact with me. So you dived into the content, week 1 being all about systems and fractals and all this weird systemizing and process stage of, you know, the really high level view of a business. What did you start to learn through week 1? What was like the biggest aha moments for you?
Well, you know, it's a lot of stating the facts that we're not even looking at, because I thought it was like so brilliant the way you put it, because it's almost like clearing the fog. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Yes, this is, yes. What he's saying is true. My God, why didn't I, like, why? It's because when you go online, especially in the coaching world, what we're getting from each other, and what, you know, before you're a coach, what you're getting, the information download about the law of attraction. I was so big on this. When I found out, I just became obsessed with it. And the thing is that it's just one of the many universal laws, but it's not the only law. And you still got to put your back into it. The law of attraction, what are you just going to sit here and meditate and then it'll all come together?
That's what some people think, unfortunately.
That doesn't happen. You're not God. It doesn't work like that. You have to work. You do things and you get things done. Yeah. So that was the biggest aha moment, that there's a process.
Yes. I think that's the biggest thing. It's adding like what we're teaching, especially in week 1, and everybody says this, that's why I asked that question. It's so obvious, but it has to be stated to you to become so obvious. Like, you don't have multiple niches. We don't have multiple things and multiple chaos and multiple platforms and all this stuff. We start with one. We simplify everything, as you've done, which I want to talk about your niche very soon. And we just build things at stages one by one, instead of having, like you had before, where you were trying all these different things, free content, free sessions. I'm sure multiple prices, you had multiple packages, multiple offers, and it gets so chaotic that, you know, you can't expect to get anything from it, because when you've got this big ball of mess in front of you, how do you derive, what am I supposed to do? How do I start it? When do I start? Unless there's a system. It's all good to be well up here and be healed up here. But like you said, you still need the conscious actions each day to push the right buttons to get paying clients. They don't just come out, you know, they're not going to come kicking down your door because your best friend is universal energy. It doesn't work like that. There has to be a system and a protocol. So when you started to build the systems, we were back and forward. I guess the next question I have for you, we got to the niche. And sometimes this can be like nightmare fuel for some people. When I talked about the niche and when you were citing your niche, what did you actually start with? Because we've been back and forward on your niche probably half a dozen times.
Yeah.
And we've only just settled on it now, which is working really well. What did you decide on your niche right at the start?
A good question. What was it? Something to do with career and peak performance.
Yeah.
And yeah, you laugh.
Yes. Very
Yeah, because
vague.
what the heck is that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just noticed that when I was taking clients, they weren't paid, but like they were legitimately, I was helping these people. All of the intake and all of the transformation had to have something about confidence and self-esteem. They came from multiple issues, but confidence and self-esteem was big. So, and then a lot of people were worried about their career and not doing the best at it, even though relationship was there, weight was there, this was there, that was there. So honestly, I just, for me, it was like, yeah, totally. I can do like, I help people or business people, whatever, who are struggling with confidence and self-esteem issues to achieve peak performance without the self-sabotage or in 28 days. Like I kept tweaking it and kept tweaking it. But first one was all about career. Then I thought, should I maybe just focus on women? And then so I said, like, I help business women struggling with self-esteem, confidence, whatever, peak performance. And then that didn't work. And then I went to like, and then I was like relationship and career. Because I know that a lot of women who are high achieving, they are always up in their head and they take that energy and they like focus on their career. And then their relationship takes a hit, but also eventually their career takes a hit too, because those two are very interconnected. And yeah, for some reason I wasn't able to get anyone. So I got a little bit of interest, but it wasn't on point. It still wasn't hitting the mark. And then I went to binge eating because we talked and I had like a couple of conversations with you and you told me like, wow, you're really passionate about it. And yeah, there's a lot of things I'm passionate about, like very passionate about health and well-being and wellness. And I have a real like desire to educate people on how like the food industry is really like messing everyone up and giving wrong information just because it's profitable for them. And yet people are dying. Like we actually, if you look at Worldometer, more people are suffering from obesity than people suffering from starvation. Weird, right? Like there's more people that are struggling with that. And so it's like, why? It's because we're constantly bombarded with eat this, eat that, and it's not even real food. And I just, in the factory farms. So I'm very passionate about that. And I know you got that from our conversation. You're like, well, why don't you do binge eating? And it's, for some reason, I couldn't just focus on a niche. As soon as I picked a niche, suddenly I wanted to talk more about relationship stuff.
Yes.
As soon as I talk about relationship or career, I want to talk about, like I picked that niche. I don't feel like talking about this. I don't feel like creating content and doing Facebook posts or lives about that anymore. I feel like doing something else. And it's like, wow, what is going on? So, but my niche caught up with me because ultimately I did start off in the relationship like area with in the relationship niche, helping women. And yeah, so ultimately I went back to it because all of my clients are from there. So no matter how many times I switch my niche, ultimately I'm always having women come up to me for relationship, and they also want their career helped out as well too, like because they struggle in that area too. So it's like, okay, I'll help you with your relationship. It will affect your career too, both of them. And yeah, I know at the end of the day, it's got to do with confidence, but I got rid of the word confidence and self-esteem because no one really wants to say that
That's
I had
right.
that issue. I didn't. I had that issue. I did not ever want anyone to sense that weakness, or I saw that as a weakness. 'Cause I didn't want to be like, you know, it just didn't want to attract any kind of abusive behavior. So I just changed the word around. It just changed the niche statement so that I'm capturing the right people, and even in the organic message. But yeah.
it's interesting. Like you went for like a full 360 because
Yes.
the strategy call, we talked about relationship, then I went to peak performance, and I went to binge eating, then went to diet, then I went back to relationship. But I think what's interesting that you've done so well that not a lot of people can do is, for most coaches and therapists, they pick a niche they're passionate about. They try a lot. And when I say try a lot, they post for like 2 days. It doesn't make them 10 grand. So they give up. But what you've done is you found the niche, what you thought was the niche, you tested it, you confirmed it, you theorized what it could be, you talked to the market, you landed on it, you started to create content, try to get clients that didn't work straight away, but you didn't give up. I mean, you had no real choice at that point. You went to the next niche, the next niche, and now we've landed on relationship. I think what you've learned in that whole entire sequence is, you know, you create some sort of thick skin and tenacity that people just have to understand. Your niche probably will never work the first time, but if you're not willing to evolve it and tweak it and oscillate it and move it around, you end up back where you started, having to get a 9-to-5 job with a coaching certificate on you wall, having done nothing, and you blame the system, the course, all that stuff. But what you've done so brilliantly is you just kept going. And now all of that extra effort you've put in is now paying off in very, very high paying clients.
Yes. Yes,
so
exactly.
When you landed on that niche, you had that aha moment. I remember you sent me through a message saying, you know, I've got my first strategy call. What should I charge, Scott? Should it be this? Are you sure that's not too much? And you wrote me a message about this long. And I think my response was, just say it. Just give her your price, say it, shut up, see what happens. Do you remember that call with that client?
Yes. She was ready. She was like me on the phone with you, and when I was on the phone with the other two certifications, she knew she wanted it. She already knew it, and it was up to me not to fuck it up. You know what? Yeah. Sorry, can I swear? Because I just...
Of course you can. Anyway. Yes. It's passion. Yes.
It's passion. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but I had to, but I also know that it's still possible to mess it up, because the strategy call really just helps to drive you to that natural conclusion, and also to weed out people who are not ready, and for folks who are just not ready at the moment, to just keep the seed planted in there. And it really did give me something to work with, because I feel like I could have messed it up, but there was no room for me to mess it up, because I was just held throughout the whole process. It was just easy. It led me there. And yeah, she signed up, and I remember, oh my God, I was so nervous when she said yes. I'm like,
what do I do?
What do I do now? Yeah. Oh my God. Because I had a whole system automated, and your training actually takes out the automation. It's just like, wait a minute, how do I do this? I mean, I had everything automated, and now I have to take the credit card from her, that information. So I was in such a denial state, and just so like I can't believe this is happening, that I didn't even think that maybe, I was like, no, this can't be right. Like, I took her credit card information, I put it down just like the way Scott said. And what if that wasn't her numbers? What if that wasn't her everything? I was remembering, like, the whole night I was so nervous. I was calling my sister, and she said, Sophie, it wouldn't have gone through if that wasn't her name, her number, her CVS number, all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah. Why am I like,
relief. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like the chattering mind kicked in for a second there, because I was in such like, I can't believe this actually worked. This is what I've been wanting. But when it first happens, it's just like you're almost in a denial state that this is happening. And then when you keep doing a few more, then you're like, oh yeah.
It's just natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just natural.
And the big reason we take out that automation is because you can't rely on a sales page or a website or something to have a client book for $2,500. You got to be pretty good at copy and marketing. The reason why we get control over that circumstance is because I need you to get control over it. We can learn how to get control, what that control is, and then automate it later.
Yeah.
Whereas most people automate all the wrong things at the wrong time, at the wrong point, and wonder why no one wants to buy. So I remember you did a quick Facebook Live in the group. I don't think I've ever seen you more emotional. I don't think you could even talk at the time. Yeah. What was it like, to have a great client wanting to work with you? You've solved your niche. The process is in place. The business is actually built just from that one first paying client. What was happening for you after all of that?
Wow. I was just like you said, I couldn't find my words. It was just like, I know I have to be on here and just share this with people, because I felt like, wow, if I can do it, then people should know that they can do it too. Because I felt like everything was working against me. Like, I just felt like this was not available to me. It didn't matter how smart I was, how wise I was, how good I was at this. It just wasn't available to me. But when that gets flipped around and you're like, no, it's available to you. Don't kid yourself. You just need to apply the process. everyone should know that. Everyone should need that. Everyone should get that confirmation that it's available. You just have to follow it. And why it's important to have a process to follow, because when you don't feel like it, it doesn't matter about how you feel. It doesn't matter about what you think. Sometimes your thoughts and your feelings get in the way, but just fucking do it. Like, that's all you need to do is JFD. There's the process. It doesn't matter if you're not thinking that this is the right time or whatever. You just do it. It doesn't matter if you're not feeling, what should I do? I don't feel like doing it. No, those things are irrelevant. And so it really, like, it's its own bucket.
I mean, could you imagine if I left you alone on the strategy call and just said, look, just wing it? And then you would have said, well, Scott, how do I take the credit card details? I'll figure that out for yourself. Just open up Stripe, go to YouTube, figure it out. You'll be fine. You would have panicked. You would have been overcome with emotion. And when we're overcome with emotion, we don't think clearly, because now we're all unconscious instead of conscious. So even the thought of how do I take credit card details when you're not prepared for it is such a big task. That's why we say, put it in this box, push this button, say this word, enter this, tell your client congratulations, hang up the phone, message Scott, tell him you'll win. So we give you all of that process. So even if you get highly emotional, it's not going to disrupt you making a business out of, as a coach or a therapist.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And
so, you were getting excited, your first client through, and you've had many since there. Looking back on like where the business was compared to now, what's the biggest changes do you think you're seeing on what you've made?
The biggest changes I've made, because I've been through, like, since that first client, there's just been so many, the world is going through so much change right now. It's just the best part is that it doesn't matter what you're going through. You always know where you can pick up and continue. And I didn't have that. So it brings calm and it brings order, and it allows me to just, it allows me to just continue on business, and have an operations in place, regardless of what's happening around me, which is, not what they teach you. Like, they do their best in the other certifications, but it's just not available. And one of the things that I love about your program is that it's got like world-class support. You're just there. I never felt like I was left to figure it out on my own, because it's clearly laid out, it's updated, and you're always there. And you're always supporting. And I'm sure I annoyed you during my knee.
I expect people to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, God, I was like, okay, he's going to be so irritated with me, but I'm just going to keep reaching out to him, and I'm just going to keep, working with him, because I invested in this, and I know it works, and I have to come in line with it. So there was no question as to if this is going to work out, if this is a good process. It was just that, how do I get myself aligned with it? And you were always there supporting me. And it's just something that, this is a part that was missing in these certifications. Nothing bad about the certifications I took, but the support aspect, the ongoing support, and how to actually make it, turn it into a business in a way that actually appeals to me. Because some of the other ones, it's all about ClickFunnels, and it's all about, I'm not about that. I don't like spamming people, and I don't do mailing lists, and I don't, it's just not my thing. So this was one way where I can reach out to clients directly, because, people can still go on my content and copy, but, they're probably doing a different thing. They're probably doing it where they copy it, they attract clients, and maybe they get some of these clients. But I'm actually reaching out to people. So I'm not waiting for them. I'm not waiting for my marketing skills to attract these people. I'm out there grabbing, doing it, which makes it really important, because, a lot of people actually thank me for reaching out to them. Whether they're ready for it or not, and at the moment, it's fine. But people actually thank me, and it feels really good. Not that I was ever afraid of like rejection or anything like that. But it feels nice when people actually thank you. So it's really good.
It's sort of strange to say, like, for the majority of the industry right now, for coaches and therapists, everything's crumbling around them. And it would have been the same for you. Whereas all of you guys, some of you guys have actually made more money since the coronavirus started than before. And that's only due to the fact that you built the infrastructure, you have the systems in place, the automation's in the right place, you've mastered your niche, you know your service, you know how to do the strategy calls properly, and offer your services in the right way to obviously the right people at the right time. Whereas, like you said before, if those things aren't set up, done online, all it takes is for some chaos on the outside to intervene on this business that you've created, and it just crumbles. And a lot of people, I think, are thinking, once the coronavirus is finished, things will get back to normal. I can go back and see free clients. I can go to events. I can go to breakfasts and meetups. I don't think it's ever going to be the same, because people are going to be more wary of those things. So for you guys who are building systems online and still growing your businesses, even through uncertainty and chaos, when the chaos subdues and it's gone, you guys will come out of the gate swinging and just dominate. And like you said, it seems weird, like in a time where the whole world is panicking, that you can reach out to clients and they thank you for taking your time to reach out to them. On paper, it doesn't look like that, but that's the reality we live in. People do need this help. Even though there's so much chaos, people are still in pain. They need your help. But the coaches and therapists are so panicking themselves, it just makes a mess of the business and the industry.
That's right. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Moving forward with your clientele, like who are these women that you are helping? Like, what is the niche and what's the solution they're offering?
Yeah, so my niche is, the statement is, I help women struggling in their relationship to attract everlasting love and without the self-sabotage. And I'm doing it on Facebook, different groups, just trying to look for women, whether it's networking groups or whatever. But as I've gone out and done a lot of this organic outreach, I also do LinkedIn as well. And I have more connections on LinkedIn. And I actually find that myself, I want to gravitate more towards the lawyers, doctors, and accountants, just because those are, but it won't be limited to that. It's just, that's who I like to focus on. I feel like those women are high achievers. They put a lot of their attention in their head and their thinking, and just as a way to escape their heart, because the emotions, they haven't learned how to maneuver through them and process them. And so they actually do struggle a lot in their relationships, and the whole masculine and feminine energy dynamics where, women are so much in their masculine energy all the time that they don't realize when you're like that in a relationship, you're going to push the man away, and they don't know what's going on. And a lot of us are in our wounded energy states. And so it's just talking to women who are in these high achieving, like they're high achievers, but they're lacking in their relationship, and eventually that catches up in their career too. So that's who I'm basically niching. And yeah, it's pretty good. Like I think I'm gonna start here. It's a big enough group of people that I can work with, and then let's see what that evolves to. I'm already seeing that some of these clients they have multiple things that they're working on, like that are of concern to them. One of them is could be her weight issue. Like I see that come up for her a lot in our conversations. So it's like, okay, well, that client can convert to another opportunity, another transformation that she might sign up for, which I can do, but that's not how I market myself. So let these clients that I'm working with either refer me to someone else who wants something else, or they need another transformation program, and they've already built that trust with me and have had that experience with me. So I can see this evolving, but right now that's where I'm focused.
That's the best way to do it, and something we tell you guys to do. You don't market a bigger niche. You let your clients niche out for you, because then it doesn't disrupt your marketing. Because if it does, you go back to, I can help everybody with everything. But if your clients start saying to you, okay, Sophie, that was incredible, I'm healed, this was great, I'm wondering, do you also work with this? Well, of course I do, because you can do anything, you can heal everything, but you can't market it that way. And you allow your clients to now spread the word, spiderweb your strategy, and branch it out, where to these potential clients, you can help everything, but your marketing is really, really specific. Yeah. It's genius doing it that way, because then it just doesn't disrupt it doesn't go back to chaos, when everything right now, you can probably look at it so clear and concise, and you know the steps. There's no second thought. You just got to wake up each day, push the right buttons, and the result is more paying clients and a bigger building business.
Exactly.
So you've only been in the program for like 3 months, maybe 2-3 months.
Yeah, less than 3. Just about 2 now. 2 months.
Okay. What's the biggest thing you've learned so far overall?
Overall, I would say Okay, the niche thing was big for me. It was it was so painful. And I just felt like, like every couple of weeks, I'm like, changing my banner on Facebook, and I would delete the previous one because, and the people I've added from previous niches must be like, what is going
What's she
on with
doing?
this?
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting there like really explaining myself. Although when I fix my relationship niche, it's like, yes, I'm sticking here. But that was the biggest thing, the niche. And there's that process. Like, I can't emphasize it enough. The process is huge, and having control over the process. And there's a reason why it's not automated. And there's a certain methodology to getting a client to converting them to a paid client. And it's just using, it's just the smartest way of doing it. So like picking the niche and then the strategy call, those two things are really like, it's the biggest thing for me.
What do you think, like coaches and therapists, even coronavirus, aside, what do you think the biggest struggles are for even new therapists and coaches just starting, even the ones trying to grow their business? Being that you've been there, now you're at the other side where your business is growing and we can sort of look back in. Where do you see the biggest dilemmas are in the industry?
Well, there's a lot of people who are still like, oh, I can do everything for everyone. And also the freebies, like we're constantly giving out freebies, and, like they're not really understanding that your time, there's no proper strategy behind it, you're just expending your energy without you leading the client to and getting good at saucing out like the ones that, early on in the process, who you don't want to work with, who's going to be a waste of time. So is just a lot of spent energy on things that aren't going to be fruitful to growing your business. And that's what's missing. And we still think that we need to have, a lot of people still believe like ClickFunnels, newsletters, you got to do it this way. And I naturally don't like that stuff. I'm not part of anyone's newsletter because I just don't like it. It's just too much noise. So I didn't want to do it to my clients, but I'm just happy that your training isn't about that. And yet there's still so many coaches, so many business owners that still bombard people with emails and just, just there's no strategy behind getting a client to a paid client. Sure, you can give them a 45-minute call that's free, but that is an investment that you make, and even before the call, you've got to be able to know if you should even have this call. And all of that is part of your program. So you just make people smarter at their business and give them an opportunity to weed out the ones that are a waste of time. And this is what's still like a lot of people are struggling with, is how to not waste their time.
Where do you think, or what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't joined the program?
Homeless. I'd be living in my car because the homeless shelters are all full. Like that's what I'd be doing. I still wouldn't give up on it, but I just wouldn't be successful. Like that's what I would be. It literally is that.
Straightforward.
But I'm not. Yeah.
That's the motivation.
Yeah, it's the motivation. It came down to that.
Wonderful.
Literally.
So 6 months from now, what are we trying to achieve? What goals do we have? What have you set for yourself? What are we for? So, getting towards the end of the year, what do you hope to have happened?
Yeah, I want to have, obviously just, so I'm already starting to think about how I can make it, because with my transformation program, I'd love to streamline the coaching process. So I'm already making it so that on the coaching calls, I'm just there, like not teaching anything new, providing the information in advance. What I'd love to do is make it so that at the start of each month, I take on a group of people and turn it into like that mini kind of program where I do the hypnotherapy, and then I send them a bunch of like videos and slides that they listen to. Maybe it's a login that they go access. And then I have like weekly calls that they log into, and I answer questions and I help them. I answer any questions and just streamline my time better, just make it more efficient rather than it being sporadic. Just finding more efficiencies rather than, like right now, it's not like I can say, oh, I have this many clients, so I'm going to put them on a waiting list for the start of this month. Like I want to make it more into a program and streamline activities that way.
Yep. Get better efficiency with 80-20.
Yeah,
Turn,
exactly.
flip the whole 80-20 round where 80% of your time is you just selling your program and 20% marketing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What, so, probably the last question or the last couple of questions I have for you, like what, for people that are wanting to grow their business or uncertain of these times, don't know where to start, what's the best advice you'd have for them? Because they're going to be watching this, they're going to be looking up to you. They're probably going to reach out to you and ask you questions. What advice would you have for these therapists and coaches who are still stuck in the same place where you were, 2.5 months ago?
Number one, I'd say for them to reach out to you because you've got a really good program and it's worthwhile, especially since it's lifetime access and, you're there supporting them. What better program is there, like that is there supporting you throughout your journey. So I would say reach out to Scott first, reach out to you. And the other thing is some people have a niche and some people don't. But if you don't have a niche, pick a niche, study that niche, figure out exactly, like, don't just pick a niche from anywhere. Because you have to figure out what it is that you actually can profit from and still be passionate about. And you're actually going to serve that client with your program or the transformation program you have. The niche thing is really, really huge. It was a big difference for me. I would say, like, make sure you study what it is that you want to do and that you can actually help them, and get really specific. And that was the hardest thing for me. The hardest thing. I didn't want to let go of this. I wanted to help it all. I wanted to help everyone with everything. You just have to trust that it's really in your best interest to be laser beam focused and do your homework for that and try it out. It's okay if you don't get it the first time. Some people, they're in their second week. I know, like, I hear your students and they're like, oh, in my second week, and that wasn't me. And if that's not you, it's okay. Just don't give up and do your homework, test it out, drill deeper, figure it out, do the soul searching, and find the support you need, like Scott, to help you through the process, because it's worth it. I mean, from someone who who had tight finances, faced bankruptcy, went through bankruptcy, I invested in myself 3 times. 3, like the coaching, the hypnotherapy certification, those 2, and then your training course, which sealed the deal. And it's like, I invested in myself 3 times, and I was like on reserve funds. I was skipping meals, so making sure my son was having his meals were not interrupted. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to invest in this course because for me, it's a no-brainer. I needed it. And I don't invest in just anything because I'm not a spendthrift. I like to invest in something that's actually going to pay dividends. But do that investment in yourself and, like, do the research, because it's not what you think, it's what is actually needed. And I know that eventually I'm going to switch niches, but it's not going to happen because I feel like it. It's going to happen naturally. But I've already picked a niche that, like, I've researched and I know that this is a thing. So I'm going to stick with it, and it will organically shift me into other areas. But that's what I would do, is like really pick a niche where you've researched it and do laser beam focus on who it is you want to help out, because they will actually respond. When you sent out that video of, like, the testimonial, it spoke to me and I acted. If it was any different kind of message, wishy-washy, I wouldn't have acted. There's no call to action there. I couldn't relate to it. But it was another RTT student who was a single mother who also had like an NPD-X, narcissistic personality disorder X. It was a no-brainer for me. She's successful. Why can't I be? So I acted on it. And that's why it's important for you to pick a niche so it speaks to them, so that they act on it. And you have to research it.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us, you're 100% correct. I think for a lot of us, like, we get brainwashed, and I did too. I was fully convinced that as long as I was certified, as long as up here was good enough, clients would come kicking down my door. I didn't need to learn business. I'm really bad with numbers, so I had to teach myself accounting and marketing and all that sort of stuff. But we get so brainwashed and consumed that it's just the certification. Like, you could have skipped my course, Sophie, and gone to learn, advanced RTT or coaching or hypnotherapy, and been in the exact same place, completely certified, certifications on your wall, overly certified, having the skills, but still in the same place. So I think the biggest wake-up call is you have to learn business. For therapists and coaches, to become a therapist, you had to go to a course. You had to reach out to an expert and get trained on therapy. But that's almost like the easy part. You show up, you do the work. Yeah, you've got to do the work. You've got to appreciate, you've got to do all that stuff. But it's what you do with it next. And what you did with it next was take that last leap, which was the only leap that actually turned what this thing was into an actual business. And there's going to be more investment of your time and your resources as you go through this business to scale, to grow, but you can see the dividends are paying off. Without the business side, without understanding marketing or outreach or the niche, you would have been probably in the same place. Up here would have been better, and you would have understood your craft better. You probably would have had better breakthroughs with your client at some point, but you still would have had no clients to actually work with. So I think that's a big realization.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So moving forward, let's say there's going to be women probably watching this. What type of client do you work with? Who you are specifically looking for, and where can they find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so I help women who are struggling in their relationship, and I typically work with lawyers, doctors, accountants, a lot of the professional women, just because I know that they're really high achievers, and they might have just hit a plateau or have a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors or doubts in their own ability to take it to the next level. And basically I help them in their relationships, because they're typically struggling in their relationship, and they will also see the transformation in their career as well, just because they're so related and interconnected. And so I help women who are professionals, mostly lawyers, doctors, and accountants, but they could be any like corporate like whatever professional, and that's who I help with in their relationship. And yeah, it's pretty much. Excellent. They can find me on, I guess, my website, Sophie Drakkar, SophieDrakkar.com. They can book a strategy call with me there.
Beautiful. So what we'll do as well for everybody watching, we'll leave Sophie's details in the description. And I definitely recommend you get a hold of her. She is a wealth of knowledge and incredible at what she does. Definitely her niche expert, okay, without a shadow of a doubt. So before I let you go, any last words of wisdom, any advice, closing thoughts, anything like that?
Yeah, JFD.
Just fucking do it. Yeah.
Just fucking do it. If you haven't signed up for his course, just fucking do it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So Sophie, thank you so much. That was awesome. I'm going to see you over in the group. We'll be in contact very soon. And that's all from us for today, guys. Thank you, Sophie, again for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks, Sophie.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.